welcome to Cosplay Stitch and Seam. I'm Pannon.
I'm V-Fire.
And I'm David.
Yay!
Yay, we made it! We made it to another week, you guys!
Yay! Some days it sure feels like it's dragging.
Surviving each week. Yeah. So I learned something new.
Okay.
Oh, yeah?
I've always heard of scatting,
Uh-huh.
and now I figured out what it is.
Oh, okay.
From watching, what's it called?
The Scatman?
No.
Scatman, oh man. What a callback.
Disenchantment. Yeah. The Simpsons, not Simpsons show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it with subtitles on, and freaking Lucy, it's just the subtitles are just scatting, and I'm like, so that's what that is.
Yes. It has a name.
Uh,
Well, if you folks at home would like to share what you've been watching or any strange new words and their definitions you'd like to share with us, there's a stretch. You can send those to us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com or
you can go to the website and fill out the Google form at cosplaystitchandseam.com, or
go to the Facebook page and send us your watch list, your work list, your work in progress Wednesdays by joining our fantastic group as well. We have got an awesome community of people that want to hear what you're working on and give you the support and praise that you so deserve. And we also have a Discord, and we love the community there. People are talking about video games. People are sharing memes. It's a great time.
heck yeah.
Pannon started a conversation about Boba Fett, and it was a great conversation, and we all kind of came to the same conclusion. It looks really cool. Some areas we could get better, but it looks really cool.
Yeah. Excellent.
While you're on the internet talking about the Book of Boba Fett and telling us what you thought about it, if you would like to help us out, there are many different ways to do it. First, share the podcast with a friend. Second, leave a review on Apple Podcast, on Audible, wherever they let you. We greatly appreciate that. That helps us out a lot. And of course, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/cosplaystitch. For $3 a month, we give you a shout out on the show. For $5 a month, you get to join our monthly Cosplay Chronicle.
Wow.
And with all that, you get to help influence the game and whatnot. I posted a little thing for everybody to submit a form to, and if they wanted to make an item, no flaming, raging, poisoning sword of doom or anything along those lines, but fun little things that your players could then mess with. So yeah. And then also we do have a coffee, KOFI, Cosplay Stitch.
Yay! If you guys would like to check out a cosplayer who makes cosmetics with you in mind, try foxbeautycosmetics.com. That's Fox with 2 X's, beautycosmetics.com. You can use their promo code Stitch and Seam to get 10% off your purchase of all vegan, not tested on animal products. Woo!
such good stuff. Yeah.
So speaking of learning new things and learning that there are words for things you didn't know, that kind of fits in with our theme today.
Yeah.
So we're talking about unusual tools, or just things that you have used as tools that maybe you wouldn't even think of as tools. Because we've kind of talked about those in our past projects, and using weird materials. I know we did an episode on. So
it's these are sometimes some tools that you might not have heard of, or just there's this thing that's normally used for this other thing, but I'm going to use it for this.
Right.
And how to safely.
Oh man, that's been one of my favorite things to watch on TikTok lately, is seeing people crafting and using tools in new ways and being try that.
That is such a great little thing of just kind of when you watch somebody use an everyday tool in just the slightest different way, and you're but that's illegal, right?
Why have I been suffering?
So many opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Well, who wants to go first?
I want to go first.
Okay.
Because I think the number one thing that everybody should have in their toolkit is a first aid kit. I'm sorry. I know it's not unique. I know it's not fun. It's responsible, and I'm going to be an adult for 30 seconds here. Get you a first aid kit. They're
really good.
And make sure
$5-10.
it's stocked.
Yes. It's got Band-Aids. It's got burn creams. It's got wraps. It's got, like, emergency sutures in there. Like, something. Because you're gonna hurt yourself. It's only a matter of time. If you haven't hurt yourself yet, you will soon, because we're playing a game of odds and we're gonna hurt ourselves. So make sure you got a freaking first aid kit.
I've never hurt myself, says the person with a scar from a bandsaw. Yeah.
Oh, the burn cream is a really good one, and one I always forget to stock because I won't think of it until I need it.
Exactly. I didn't think about it either until I gave myself chemical burns from super glue. So yes.
Ay,
indeed. That's my first one. Do we want to rotate through, or do we want me to
rotate?
Yeah, we can do a little merry-go-round.
All right, perfect.
All right. I'll go next.
Okay.
Speaking of heat, I chose 3 of these, and I chose it from like cheapest to most expensive. So this one is on the cheaper end. You can buy one of these for like $300 to $400 if you really want to go crazy, but you can just get it for like $13. It's a heating plate. Usually they call them warming plates, and it's just to like set your food on while you're cooking and be like, oh, I don't want this to get cold, and you set it over on it. I have one that Chris lets me borrow. AKA I've stolen it from him. He will never get it back. And I use it to heat up the water that I need for the friendly plastic, because it heats it up to the perfect temperature. It's not so hot that like I'm burning my fingers to reach in and grab the plastic, but it's not so cold that the plastic doesn't, do the thing that I need it to do. I really like it. It's just a nice, easy thing. And then also, for anything that you have to warm up like that, a pot that is not something that you eat out of.
Yes.
So I have a dedicated crafting pot. Crafting pot.
Wow.
I'm an adult. Anyways, there's my first
nice. Nice.
I'm really glad that you brought up, like, you get a crafting pot. You don't use the pot for anything else other than, like, dyes or anything along those lines. Because it's kind of terrifying when you think about, like, all the chemicals that you have that could possibly also contaminate your food. So by having a place outside of your kitchen that you can heat things up in a controlled environment, it sounds just so much more safe and less needing of a first aid kit afterwards.
Yes, indeed. Or, a trip to the hospital.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't have a heat crafting pot, but you brought up this nostalgia memory for me. I used to have this pie plate that I used for painting. I just used the same acrylic paints over and over on this pie plate, and I didn't ever wash it out. I just liked stacking the paints on top of each other when they dried. So,
I bet you had something fun out of that.
It was a good half-inch thick by the time I finally got rid of it, because I just keep stacking there's the paint plate. Anyway, so for my first tool, I picked a projector. You can I see in my brain, I go back to my elementary school days when they had the little transfer projectors, but nowadays people have the fancy ones you can hook up to your laptop. But it's really good for resizing things or making sure something is scaled correctly to your body. You can project it onto a wall and just put butcher paper there and trace it. It's if you want to do even if you have a pattern PDF thing and you don't want to tape it together a piece at a time, you can put it all together and then project it and draw it as a single piece. It just has a lot of really cool uses, and that's why I like that one.
I love that too. I watch a lot of Kamui on YouTube, and she prints out all of her stuff.
Nice.
And it's really cool to see, but at the same time, it's that's a lot of paper.
Yeah.
And you also kind of have to know what you're doing, but with a projector, you can zoom in, zoom out, resize, and still maintain consistency of shape, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, as someone who is like plus size and tall, it's super helpful because like a lot of the median sizes don't work for me. So having something I can adjust that easily is super nice. And like, I mean, I think that's important for anyone at any sizes, being able to find something that's fitted to you.
Definitely.
And you can even like have a friend help you if you want to like stand next to your like weapon and like trace it so it's the right size for you, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like Kamui has done that before too, where she's projected something to make sure it's the right scale and then gone and printed it.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad like other like super amazing professionals also do the same thing.
I used to think it was so ghetto because like when I was designing my the Fierce DD Link's sword, what is that one called? Oh, I'm a terrible person.
Sword of Destiny?
Or the double helix?
Double helix. There we go. I was like, what is it called? I like how David's old Sword of Destiny.
I don't know. This is your guys' realm.
I ended up projecting that one onto the wall in my parents' kitchen and then standing next to it and being like, okay, this feels right. Because I am not tall. But, you know, Fierce Deity Link is supposed to be tall, but I wanted to feel tall, but also not be completely dwarfed by this blade.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's another one of yours, David?
I have so in my mind, when it comes to like tools, I oftentimes rely on the Alton Brown rule. Is a tool has to have more than one purpose. So you don't just buy the kitchen gadget that does like the potato mashing and that's it. Like it has to have multiple reasons to exist in the kitchen.
That's a good concept.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think of what I would use that for other than potato mashing though.
You can actually use it to also mash out like a chicken instead, like if you needed to tenderize it. So instead of getting like a specific meat mallet, you can also use like a potato masher as well. Yeah.
I love it.
So what I'm recommending next is 1, 2, 3 blocks. They are just machined blocks that are literally 1 inch tall, 2 inch wide, 3 inch deep. Like it's perfect. I love it so very much. And like you can get them in different varieties. So you can get like the just a straight up block. You can get it with a singular hole in it. And I'll tell you why you want holes in these blocks in the first place. You can get it with multiple holes. You can get it with threaded holes. You can get it with no holes. Like there's a myriad of options, and they're like $30 for 2 of them right now on the Bezos site. And you can get these, and what they're useful for is like a myriad of things. So one, they're heavy. So I love to use them when I'm rolling out foam and I don't want to get like giant books to hold down the foam so I can draw on it or anything along those lines. I can just put one on each corner, and I think they're like 2 pounds for like this 1 by 2 by 3 block. And so like having it something super heavy but super small is really nice. It's also great for like dice making, because then I can put like something heavy on the top of my mold to keep it really pressed down.
Yeah.
And then because it's 1 by 2 by 3, you know exactly this is 1 inch, this is 2 inch, this is 3 inch. It's perfect. But the reason that you want the one with like all of the holes and whatnot is because then you can put things through it and mark specific locations, as well as thread in a screw so it can stay consistently in that space whenever you need it. It's such a useful tool, you guys. I love the 1, 2, 3 block. I'm so glad that Bill Duran from Punish Prop it said like you should get these, and I was like, all right, maybe I will. This saved me so much time when I was making the Hollow Knight costume.
Oh, that's awesome.
Chris has a very, very, very nice, expensive set of those. That I'm not allowed to touch. But yeah, he also swears by them and uses them for all of his science stuff that he does.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I got to hold them once.
Once?
Yes. He was like, lucky. Hold these, don't drop them. He's very protective of them, and I don't blame him, because they're nice. They're you can screw stuff into them, and like he's just like so precise and careful with them. Take care of your tools, guys. Take care of your tools. Guess it's my turn now, huh?
Yeah.
My turn.
If you want.
If I want, I do want.
Good.
All right. I've talked about the belt sander like a lot. So I have another one. This is the spindle sander.
Okay.
So spindle sander is kind of like the belt sander, but it's not on a belt. It's just a spinning circle. It's like a spinning cylinder that doesn't just spin around. It also moves up and down, and has a platform that you can place things on. And I love it. You can get like different widths for the spindly bit. And it helps with like creating curves in something that you're sanding. It is fairly gentle, actually, with foam, and doesn't like rip it to pieces or anything like that. At least mine doesn't. And it's just been so nice to use. And normally I use the belt sander when I'm sharpening blades, but I've been slowly switching over to this spindle sander, because as long as I keep a consistent movement, I don't get those grooves into the blade. And it's just, I don't know, I love it. And it's also really easy to hook a vacuum up to keep the dust down.
Nice. What is the most recent project you've used it for?
Yeah.
When I made the kid from Bastion, the foam pieces that I glued all together, I used the spindle sander to sand the edges to make sure that they would stick really good for the foam bits. And then I also used it to sand down a couple other pieces throughout. And there was another thing I used it on, but what was it? Shoot, I don't remember. I know there's something else that I used it on, because there was a lot of sanding, like wood dust everywhere, and I don't remember what prop it was.
Like I've seen like a lot of like, if you have a curved piece of anything, like it's really useful to have a spindle sander for. Having a sander in general sounds really, really nice. And I think a rule that I'm going to throw out here is do the Adam Savage of the of like when you buy a tool, buy the cheapest version of it until it breaks. And then that will also determine like, how much did I really need this? Did I use it a lot? Because then if you found that like the spindle sander wasn't for you, but an actual belt sander that stands upright, it was more useful and went out more quickly, then buy the more expensive version.
That's a good idea.
Absolutely love that. That's why I love places like Harbor Freight. That's actually where I got my spindle sander. And where I always grab my first tool is from there. Is to, one, a lot of the times you might get something that breaks. But other times, like, you're going to get something that you're going to wear out. If you wear it out, then obviously you like that tool.
Yeah.
And I have yet to wear out a couple of my tools that I've gotten there. I think I wore out my heat gun. So I had to get a better one. But it's like, by that point, it's like, okay, I know that I use this a lot, so I'm going to go buy a more expensive one that will last longer. Yeah, no, I am right there with Adam Savage on that. I adore that man.
No, that's like, for me, I just don't use like power tools as much. So I like Harbor Freight because you can get like them pretty cheaply. And even if I'm only using it for one or two projects, then I don't feel too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just remembered. It was parts of Aloy's bow. It's a little further back, but I do remember using parts of Aloy's bow on the spindle sander because it helped make I was purposefully using it to make it more rough looking.
That's very cool.
I love it. All right, Pam, what you got next?
Okay, mine is tea and coffee.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of times it's something that's overlooked, is weathering, especially like with clothing. You see it a lot more with props and stuff.
Oh, I thought this was going to be a self-care, like, have some tea to calm yourself.
Oh, no.
Be frugal with your coffee, but it can be energetic.
No, I was meaning with staining your fabrics and things.
Absolutely. That too. Just pour it on while you're giving yourself your self-care.
Wow.
It might be therapeutic. Stinking cosplay.
No, like, even when I was working in the fashion industry, like, we had to put, like, we got some lace in, and it was, like, too stark white, and we didn't want it that much darker, but we wanted it enough that it looked aged for one of our dresses, and just put the whole thing of lace into, like, a big old pot of tea. Well, it was in like a bucket, but yeah, and it's especially good if you just want like a slight tint. It's kind of easy to adjust, easy to test.
Mhm.
I always worry with dye, and I struggle with dye a lot, but I like coffee and tea because they're also like you don't have to worry about like the chemicals,
Mhm.
and finding like a super safe place to do it. And I don't know, like, there's just a lot of fun techniques you can use with it. Like, you can do like coffee for one thing, but you can even keep the tea in the bags and apply it to certain parts of the costume to get like weathered spots and things that look just really like, words, I'm supposed to be able to use them. I just think it has like a lot of uses and a lot of different stylistic things that you can do with the dyeing, and I find it so much less intimidating than using like chemical dyes.
So I tried this on the kind of like cloak thing that I was doing.
Yeah.
And I didn't seem to notice much of a difference. Is there like a time duration that you have found that works well for you, or like a ratio? Like, how did you make it work for you?
I would pick fabrics that are cotton based. I'd also like you kind of want like a more, what is it? It depends on like the consistency of the coffee or tea. Like, I find coffee gives like a stronger color. And is easier to like brew with deeper colors. So with those, like, you can dye them up to like overnight if you want a darker effect, but it is, like I said, a lot more going to be like a tint rather than a deep color dye. If you want like specific spots, I like using the tea bags because they can kind of be like concentrated in that area, sort of a thing.
Yeah, I'm seeing what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right.
And you can like, I don't know, pin it or tie it or whatever and leave it with certain like spots on your costume. Yeah, I don't know. It's something that you'd probably want to like play around with, do some like swatch tests, brew yourself a nice cup of coffee, and then just let your fabric have a dip.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You want to give us your final one, David?
My final one is a torch of some sort. Usually like a kitchen torch or something along those lines if you wanted to like make creme brulee or something like that. But if you have a bit of flame, that's going to do a lot for a little. Back to it has to be multiple uses. One, foam edging, like, always comes out really rough for me. I suck at cleaning up the little bits, but a nice blast of a lot of heat in a very quick succession cleans up the edges really, really nice for me. It also seals your foam a little bit better, so it will take to the Mod Podge or plastic dip or whatever your sealer is. And also it can help like, hey, this glue, it shouldn't be here. Quick, hit it with some heat. That might melt it away a little bit, or depending on your type of chemical, it might hurry it up hurry up the curing process for whatever you're working on. So having a nice little open flame that's easy to control when you are outside and have your first aid kit ready and available, it is a good tool to have on hand.
Yeah. Like, even when I'm sewing, I keep a lighter next to my desk. Or like next to my sewing machine, because most of the threads I use are synthetic, and I sometimes like to cut them really short, and then I'll burn the edge so it doesn't fray out of where I've just sewn.
That's so smart.
Kind of melts it in place.
Yeah.
I like it.
Fire good.
Fire is great when you have the appropriate medical tools in case if something goes wrong.
And if it's not, it's crime brulee. Wow.
We're not even at the end.
I know. I couldn't help. I saw this cute little meme with a like possum wanting to light things on fire, and he's like, "It's not arson, it's crime brulee." Excellent. What's your final one, Mercedes?
Sorry. Yes. So my final one is the most expensive one on my list. And one that you will probably not need. There's other ways of going about it, but it's a milling machine.
What's it do?
Milling is I had to look up the definition of this. The process of machining using rotary cutters to remove material. And you do it by like advancing a cutter into the workpiece. So you have a moving, spinning, cutting thing, and you carefully move it over what you're working on, and it cuts into it. So there's CNC machines now that do a lot of that. They're computer-based. You just send them a program and boom, they do it. Milling machines are manually. You manually do that. You don't have a computer. You just do it yourself. It's super fun. I used a milling machine to cut out the outside edges and interior of my Sheikah slate. So that my pieces would be able to fit inside for like my phone and the electronics and all that. It was so nice to use. You have to go over it layer by layer by layer, because you can't just be like, I'm going to put the whole thing in there. No, it doesn't work. But you have to go slow and just be really patient with it. And for some reason, I just get mesmerized. And I just watch it go back and forth. And I'm just like slowly turning the knobs. And it's like, oh, I reached the end. Okay, let's go back now. Okay, let's do it again. I don't know what. I just love it. Nice. And so I wanted to mention the milling machine. It's, again, you can, probably do a lot easier by using the computer run CNC machines. But like, for those who are like looking for like wanting to try one of these or something, check out your maker spaces. A lot of maker spaces will have a milling machine and or a CNC in there, and they're really fun. Just be safe. Don't put your fingers in it.
No, I feel like I did some stuff with a milling machine back in like high school wood shop,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can use wood on them. Mm-hmm. Metal. Chris is using it for a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have like a really classic old one. Like, eventually when we get our own house, it'll be on display somewhere. Because it's like a relic. I love it.
That's awesome. So for my last one, I just picked something I've been using recently, and I think I mentioned it in an earlier episode, but my knitting machine.
Yeah.
It's a knitting machine, but it's all like, there's no electronic elements. It's all manual. Like, you just push this shuttle back and forth. Yeah, it's all manual.
I need to come touch it.
And like, it basically has like 50 some odd hooks that stick out, and the shuttle that you slide back and forth has like, it's almost like a little pathway on the inside of the shuttle where it directs the needles to go back and forth.
Can you
Yeah.
paint a mini space shuttle on it?
I should. But I don't know why I've just always struggled with like knitting and crochet, and I really need to like sit down and actually like make a harder attempt at learning them.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, who wanted to like, I don't know, be able to do a sewing, like a knitting project, or like I don't necessarily use it a ton for cosplay because I'm like, oh, I don't know how to knit, and that's learning a whole new skill. And this is kind of like the baby step to that, because you don't have to learn how the stitch works necessarily, but like if you can learn to work the machine, you can still have the result you want.
Nice.
It is like a little more limited in like what sort of stitches you can do. But there are more complicated ways you can have like cable twists and stuff like that. But it's been like really fun, and like it's one of those activities I can just do while I'm watching TV, or if I just like need something to do with my hands for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's super nice. And I really want to use it for making like have I told you how much I love Link Between Worlds? It's one of my favorite Zelda games.
Oh, yes.
I really want to do Ravio, and he's got this scarf that is like super, super long.
Oh.
And I've always been like, oh, I don't really know how to knit, but I want to make that. And so it's kind of been me dipping my toe into like the yarn world. And
Aww.
It's been so much fun. And like all of my friends who are into knitting and crochet and stuff were like so super supportive and sweet, and been like, here's all my extra yarn. Do you want to use some yarn? Yes, like Kaylin.
Oh my gosh, I have extra yarn. I'll throw some your way.
Yeah, please do. Like, it's fun even just to like play with. And it came in like super handy for like if you're on a budget and you want to do like gifts that are heartfelt and homemade, but maybe you don't have like a big budget.
Mm-hmm.
It was like super nice, and I felt like I was giving something, you know, from the heart. So yeah, that was my last one, and I'm trying to like think of fun ways to incorporate it into projects. I really want to do Rinoa from Final Fantasy VIII again, because I did that like way back in the day. And so I thought it would be fun to like knit her cute little jumper thing.
I don't think I've seen you do that cosplay. At least I don't think I've seen the pictures of it.
It's old. It's
okay. Like... I remember really liking Rinoa. Like, she was one of the few characters that I connected with from 8.
Nice. I like her a lot. I didn't the first time I played, but then in the repeats, I was like, you know what? She's actually really cool. I like her. So yeah, that's one of my goals of what I would like to be able to make with it.
I love that.
Yeah. Do you guys have any tools that like you're interested in but haven't used? I'm kind of putting you on the spot with this one.
Oh boy. A knitting machine.
I was just going to say, because one of the things I ran across while I was kind of like looking for information on different unusual tools was something called silver clay, where it's like a clay that you can like mold jewelry out of, and then it gets fired at high temperatures, and it like filters out all of the excess and becomes just a silver jewelry piece, which I thought was really cool. It's kind of like, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's sort of like they have like all this silver filament and stuff in with some kind of like plastic or something that has a lower melting point. Mm-hmm. So when it gets heated up enough that it can melt the silver, it puts all the silver together, and yeah.
Ooh.
I just thought that one was exciting because I used to take jewelry making and things like that, and I really enjoyed working with silver. So,
Hannon, what can't you do at this point? Like, legitimately? Can you, like, stop being so cool?
Oh, you know.
Oh, you know. No, I don't. I don't know, Pannon. I don't know how to make jewelry, but you do. You took classes for it. That's dope.
Thanks. It's the ADHD. I just like like I love crafting, but I also love it because there's so many things I can be like, I want to learn this, and I want to learn this, and I want to learn this, and get all the things for this, and then forget about it a week later.
Yep.
Learn all the things.
Yeah.
What about you, Mercedes? Do you have an item that you want to try other than a knitting machine?
I've got one that I want to use more of right now. I don't think I've got anything like new on my list that I've been thinking about, but we have our foundry, and I want to use more of it. And again, hoping so with like the bells and whatnot for Sabriel and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, the poor thing is just sitting out there, and I'm like, I'm going to use you, I promise.
Amazing. How about you, David?
I would love to get like a legit belt sander. Having something like that for a lot of like the big heavy props that I'm constantly deciding like now's a good time to make Guts' sword.
Yes.
Or the Cloud's Buster sword. Like
yes.
I don't know why I love Quinn constantly is like little cosplayer, big prop. And it's like, that's what I'm definitely drawn to. Like, I remember one of my other projects that I had in mind was War from the Darksider series. And he's got another giant sword. So having like a legit good belt sander with all the different like variances of belts, you know how much time that would save of just me like, instead of having to cut it all down, but just shape it by hand. It'd be so nice.
Yes.
Nice. Well, if our listeners at home decide to try new tools and have any horror stories because of them, please feel free to share those. Do we have any this week?
Nope.
No? We don't have any new ones? Yeah. So if you listeners at home have any horror stories, either with different tools or different conventions, now that that's kind of becoming an option again, or just things you tried that didn't work so good, or tools that you really do like and you want to tell us about them, you can do that at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com, or
you can go to the website cosplaystitchandseam.com and fill out the googly Google form, or
go to the Facebook page and send us your message there. We would love to hear about your cosplay horror stories. You can even go to our Discord, which we drop a link for on our Twitter and our Facebook every now and again. We have a whole channel dedicated to cosplay horror stories, and we would love to hear you guys talk about them there. And while you're on the internet, if you want to help out the show, there are so many different ways that you can do that, and we appreciate any and all efforts that you can. First and foremost, share the podcast with a friend. Let them know, like, hey, they talked about 1, 2, 3 blocks. I didn't think anyone else could nerd out about 1, 2, 3 blocks like Mercedes and David, but you do too. And
does anyone else have a really old milling machine? I want to see pictures. They're cool.
You can also leave us a review, not just a rating, but a review on Apple Podcast, on Audible, or wherever they let you. We'll even give you a shout out on the show for that as well. That helps the algorithm gods shine their light upon our podcast. And of course, we do have Patreon or a coffee if you have a few bucks that you would like to kick our way. Some of the amazing people that we need to thank who help keep the lights on and help make sure that we're able to pay for the fees that host our podcast, our website, and all the little things that you just don't think about with a podcast. Some of those people are Morty, Rose Does, Remy Stoa, Livy Cheney, Yggdrasil, Dr. Stecky, PB and James, Cynics, at Queer Eye Sci-Fi, Hot Riku, Rena Mira, Jazzy Kofed, Jaguar Quinn, Gloria Shu, Sudi, Stacey Pitt, Shock H, and Silver Deeds.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for your help and support, and for supporting each other on our different social medias. It's just so great to have fans like you and friends like you. If you guys want to check out the work of another cosplayer who makes makeup with you in mind, you can check foxbeautycosmetics.com. Use the promo code Stitch and Seam to get 10% off your purchase of all vegan, not tested on animal products. And if you make cosplay related products, if you are a small business, we like hearing about those too. So make sure you reach out to us. Thanks as always to Macy Roberts for the use of her music as our theme song, and David Jeffress for his amazing editing. How are those podcasts going?
They are going so good. Comic Trades Monthly, we are talking about Hey Kiddo, which is a journey of a young child. It's a comic book written for kids, experiencing the loss of your mother, finding your father, dealing with addiction. It's really, really heavy stuff, but written in such a fantastic way for children to understand it.
Oh, that's
absolutely
awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. We're talking about that on Comic Trades Monthly for the month of March. So come over there and hang out with us. If you enjoy more of an audio drama, I have The Last Voice. Season 2 is in production as we speak. Super excited about that. And so if you enjoy kind of a post-apocalyptic, strange look upon the world, go over there, check that out. And of course, Dungeons and Chill if you enjoy Dungeons and Dragons.
Hooray!
Yay!
So I know we were talking about social distancing. Did you know even the 7 dwarfs from Snow White have been told they can only gather in groups of 6? One of them isn't happy. Bye, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye!